we see this happening in anyway, it's just a classic case of we see a problem, we're going to do something about it, and I feel like it just exists so many other places across the world. We see it in England, we see it in a lot of the European countries, pretty much everywhere. Even in Canada, there's been instances of just people somewhat taking action. I mean, honestly, I'm obviously not an expert on everything that happens in other countries, but the fact is, we could be doing so much better, I feel like, in combating this stuff. And shout out to New Zealand, who's actually doing something about that. So yeah, I mean, Anu Kulali, and her thing, I'm trying to pronounce again, I don't know if it's really smart to do such a thing. Her Aotearoa group, love Aotearoa, hate racism, and that is good stuff to hear, because that's something we need. And just actually having someone or something that can fight against this stuff and actually push this out and push a message out there that is not just, oh yeah, Donald Trump is bad, the kind of the weak sauce that we see really with the general public here in America. We see something like what this group is trying to do, this anti-fascist group, and that is the stuff we need. And again, I'm not comfortable with violence, obviously. I don't think it's the best thing to do. Although, of course, we have to take a look at some of the what's going on and the people on the other side of it, what they've done to encourage and incite violence on other people. But when it comes to anti-fascist groups, I think they are much more likely to actually pursue change. I mean, the more aggressive you are, obviously, you can't just go around the street just beating people up. But the more aggressive you are in making change and pushing things and changing things yourself, the more you are, in my opinion at least, able to more easily get systematic change that stays in place. For example, the Gilets jaunes, they took two electric shocks to multiple electric shocks to France's system, and they made a big change. It's part of France's culture, I get it, but I mean, honestly, why can't we make it part of ours? That's all I have to say on that subject, because it's just something that I feel like it just needs to happen at this point. We need to see something in the way that I think there will be something going on that is good for a change on that. All right, anyway, let's turn our attention to 2020, where the worst people in the world have come to former Vice President Joe Biden's defense, arguing that Senator Kamala Harris's performance at Thursday's debate was too calculated. Several of Biden's supporters spoke to Politico, complaining that Harris's attack on Biden over his opposition to busing to desegregate schools and his partnership with some of the Senate's biggest segregationists to stop busing. Yeah, I mean, just stuff that kind of stuff, it sucks, bro. I hate that. She played lowball, which was out of character, and he didn't expect it, nor did I, said Lee White, a Biden supporter who attended his remarks with the Jesse Jackson Rainbow Push Coalition, which, by the way, is a pretty awful place to give those remarks, being who Jesse Jackson was and what he supported and the impact that he's done, versus the kind of overall crappy influence that Joe Biden has had on the world. So anyway, Lee White says she should not have gone that route. She's much too intelligent. She's been able to be successful thus far. Why do you have to do that? White, who is African American, said of the underlying segregation issues that Harris attacked, I thought it was old news. I mean, honestly, I do get that there is some sort of sense of pragmatism, especially against with older voters of all races, really, the Democratic Party, that you need to have a guy who can come in there and beat Trump no matter what, make it very easily. But, I mean, again, I think there's a sense that we can't have the world that we need to have without some sort of change. It's come to a point that I'm just not willing to compromise. You can't, and I think a lot of people in this country kind of feel the same way. I mean, look at the support that Bernie Sanders is getting. He's pushing up pretty rapidly on Biden himself, who's had a big lead up to this point in the polls. People are not really willing to compromise on their ideals anymore. We saw how that worked out with Hillary Clinton and a bunch of just ineffectual Democrats, especially in the wake of some of the more traumatic events of this century, from Iraq War to the financial crash. like, people are just being fed up. And then 2016, we have a moderate candidate. She absolutely falls flat on her face. And people are just fed up. And they do not want a moderate to right-wing candidate like Joe Biden. And I think, to me, that's really, really understandable. So, yeah. Right-wing Democrat, at least you could say. Another Biden supporter told Politico that Harris blew her chance at being Biden's vice president, which somehow glances over the fact that Harris is, like running for president herself, and things could change, and it's an incredibly condescending thing to say, in my opinion. One major Biden supporter from California who declined to be named for the publication said that Harris's direct attack on Biden was a mistake that would haunt her. It's going to bite her in the ass, the supporter said. Very early on, there was buzz. The Biden comma is the dream taking the best of both worlds. After this week, this bleep ain't happening. I think it wasn't happening the moment Kama looked at his trashy record, but yeah, that's probably about right. And yet another Biden supporter whined about the fact that Harris raised money on it. It was planned and it was staged and it was rehearsed, and they were ready to raise money on it. Another Biden supporter who said to Politico. I mean, I guess it is a fair point. I tweet a little bit about that as well. But these people are kidding themselves if they think Joe Biden wouldn't have tried to raise money off of having a kill shot against anyone else on the stage Thursday night. And it's just the way politics work, especially with politicians like Kamala and Joe Biden. I personally do not like Joe Biden. And I don't like Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris is definitely somewhat of a political chameleon who can really change her stripes in a very, very fast way when it suits her purposes, sometimes even overnight. But on the other hand, Joe Biden is worse. Joe Biden is more dangerous, and he should definitely not be president. But by the way, neither should Kamala Harris as well. Biden did rake in $1 million from 2 fundraisers this past weekend. Harris raised $2 million online within 24 hours of the debate, according to the Daily Beast. This dumb feud between two presidential candidates is not going to go away anytime soon. So this is key. Going to be an interesting dynamic to watch. I mean, personally, it'll be, I don't know how this plays for Bernie in the left here to have Kamala. It could be good, as in the fact that, yeah, there isn't going to be any real, there's not going to be any real chance for progressive or left-wingers to come out and attack Bernie Sanders. I mean, liberals to go out there and attack Bernie Sanders. The centrist wing of the party go out and attack Bernie Sanders, say, oh, he's being too mean to Joe Biden. He doesn't care about uniting the party, whatever. I mean, still, they're finding many, many, many ways to attack him, other things, but just not that, I guess. So, yeah, that's all interesting. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this all turns out. I do certainly want to see that. I certainly do want to see some kind of change on this and some kind of Joe Biden fall. And I'm pretty sure the polls are still being taken. We should know some, at least by the end of the week, about where the candidates stand after the debate. But one thing's for sure, Joe Biden, and this is a prediction, and it's probably going to be a pretty bad prediction because most of my predictions are pretty bad. Joe Biden's not going to be around for much longer in the top of the polls, at least. I think we may see him second or even third. Hopefully, if I'm crossing my fingers and praying to God, this man cannot be anywhere near the Democratic nomination. All right. I mean, I guess you can support him with, if he does, but it is acceptable. It's just untenable. It just won't work. Anyway, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is visiting several Customs and Border Patrol facilities today as part of a congressional delegation. After the first visit, she claimed that that even with members of Congress present, the officers were on their good behavior. When officers were on their good behavior, women were being held in cells with no running water and told to drink from the toilets, which is what she said. This is all very shocking stuff and whole kind of fiasco that we're going to cover a lot on the show today. She says, just left first CBP facility. I see why the CBP officers were being so physically and sexually threatening towards me. We'll get a little bit more on that in a bit. Officers were keeping women in cells with no water and had told them to drink out of toilets. This was them on their good behavior in front of members of Congress. And again, it's just, a part of the absolutely tragic conditions, and really what it says about America. And I think being in the position that I am, I mean, I would love to help in any way that I could. So, I mean, if you could reach out to me and make me aware of any kind of thing that would help, it would be incredibly beneficial and helpful to me, because I want to make a change. Like, this is seriously bad stuff that's happening at our border right now. Officers keeping women in cells with no water and told them to drink out of the toilets. And this is, again, when the good behavior. It's not just the kids, she says. It's everyone. People drinking out of toilets, officers laughing in front of members of Congress. I brought it up with their superiors. They said officers are under stress and act out sometimes. No accountability. I forced myself into a cell with women and began speaking to them. One of them described their treatment at the hands of officers as psychological warfare, waking them up at odd hours for no reason, calling them whores, etc. And then tell me what about this is due to lack of funding. I mean, again, it is... Like, this is, again, not because she voted against a border bill that we talked a little bit about on the last show, about that was supposed to just give money to these pigs and hogs and just awful human beings to just do whatever they want with, throw it up in the air, spend it probably on themselves, not bringing toothpaste and soap. I mean, they even turned down donations from good-meaning people that are trying to make people's lives better, these migrants' lives better. But, yeah, they're still turning that down. They're still doing... all these horrible things to migrants, and they just want to. I mean, I get the sense they just want to keep the gravy train going and keep them in the good position that they're in today. So, like, that seems to be the goal. It seems to be the main thrust of what's going on here, and it's just something that we need to know about. I definitely think so. Yeah. So we'll play a clip from here in a moment. This is her outside of the migrant facility, I believe, after she has done visiting it, from the Twitter account of Jonathan Katz, who writes, AOC came out here and told us that there are kids inside who have been stuck here for months. Others can't communicate because they don't speak English or Spanish. Here she is talking about that. Oh, she's talking in Spanish there, so we won't do that. Then, after leaving a detention facility in Hondo Pass, Texas, AOC spoke to reporters about allegedly downright despicable comments inside. Splinter reached out to Customs Border Patrol for comments, and it'll be interesting. Here's her talking a little bit more about that.
English, please. There's abuse in these facilities. There's abuse. This was them on their best behavior, and they put them in a room with no running water. And these women were being told by CBP officers to drink out of the toilet. They were drinking water out of the toilet. And that was them knowing a congressional visit was coming. This is CBP on their best behavior, telling people to drink out of the toilet.
Did you see somebody actually do that while you were
Yeah, then she just pulls away off to probably the airport or whatever. Anyway, so that is all very interesting stuff, and interesting about the character of people who I have long called pigs and hogs and just absolute brutes of humans. And I think that's really becoming true, at least the people in the 9,500 members in this 3-year-old Facebook group, but still going on now. It's been around for 3 years. It's a Border Patrol Facebook group where agents joke about migrant deaths and post sexist memes that are just awful all around. So, yeah, members of a secret Facebook group for current and former Border Patrol agents joked about the deaths of migrants, discussed throwing burritos at Latino members of Congress visiting a detention facility in Texas on Monday, posted a vulgar illustration depicting AOC engaging in oral sex with a detained migrant. Wow, according to screenshots of their posting. So, yeah, and in one exchange, this is from ProPublica, again, by A.C. Thompson. In one exchange, group members responded with indifference and wisecracks to the news story of a 16-year-old Guatemalan migrant who died in May while in custody at a Border Patrol station in West Lasco, Texas. One member posted a gif of Elmo with the quote, "Oh well." Another responded with an image of the word, "If he dies, he dies." I wonder how many people in this group are white, the white males with the Oakley sunglasses and the fat rednecks. That would be interesting to find out. Take a demo count of this. Created in August 2016, the Facebook group is called I'm 1015 and boasts roughly 9,500 members from across the country. 1015 is Border Patrol code for aliens in custody, if you didn't know. The group described itself in an online introduction as a forum for funny and serious discussion about work in the patrol. Remember, you're never alone in this family, the introduction said. You're out there every day, risking your life, kicking down water and food, destroying it. Like, that's what we do in the Border Patrol. Proud. Like, yeah, honestly. Responsible for policing the nation's southern and northern boundaries, the Border Patrol has again come under intense scrutiny. Pro-public